tell you when. Okay, so here we go. We know that the answer is 3 here. Okay, so go ahead and if you didn't get it right, you need to be writing down what I'm writing down so that we can get understood why you missed it, because there's going to be one just like it on the summative. Now, 6 miles in 2 hours. What would I call that right there? I would call that my fake ratio. Absolutely. That's just what we're basing our information on. Okay? Now, how many different unit rates are there for every ratio? 2 different unit rates for every ratio. So that means I could figure out how many miles per hour. Go. I can figure out how many miles per hour, or I can figure out how many hours per mile. Right? Either one. But when the question is worded in this way, and it specifically gives you per hour, do you have a choice? Can you do it both ways? No. So you had to show a proportion here to get this question right. You had to show a proportion. If you didn't show a proportion, it's wrong. Who can remind me where 1 is going to go in our unit rate proportion?
Bottom right.
In the bottom right. Now next we go to the label part. We always do labels next. Since it says per hour, that means per 1 hour. So that means I know that hours are going to be on the bottom, and that means that miles are then going to be on top. Remember, this ratio here, the first one, always goes along with my fake ratio. So I go up and say, okay, that's 6 miles in 2 hours. So then I say, what am I doing to my number of hours? Dividing by 2. What am I doing here? Divided by 2. So I know that's going to be 3 miles in 1 hour, 3 miles per hour, letter B. Now, make sure you do this right. When you're doing division like this, you have to make sure you do 6 divided by 2. You just can't do 2 divided by 6. I'm seeing a lot of people do that throughout the whole week leading up to this formative. Okay, so make sure you're not doing that. So, did you need to have that work?
Yes.
Yeah, if you didn't have it, it's wrong. Absolutely wrong. I don't care how easy the problem is. If you guys want me to give you the most ridiculous numbers to where you have to do it, I will. But I'm trying to give you an easy question. You're just showing me the process. You just have to show me the process, that's all. Okay, number 2. Okay, now the correct answer is going to be letter C. But, it's letter C, but as I said up there, if you don't have a proportion, it's wrong. Okay, so we're going to draw our proportion, and if you didn't have this, make sure you're writing this down. This is your study guide now, this test. Now I know it's a unit rate because it says the word per. Anytime you see the word per pencil or how much is each pencil or anything like that referring to one of that item, we know that we got to do a unit rate proportion, and that's going to go there. Now, because it says per pencil, I know that pencils are going to be in the second term. I know that money is going to be in the top. I would call that right there what?
Fake ratio.
That's my fake ratio. That's what I'm basing it on. And I know this. And you got to know a dozen's 12. So if you didn't know a dozen was 12, go ahead and write yourself a little note. And a dozen is definitely 12. Now it's easy. What am I doing to my number of pencils? Well, I'm dividing them by 12. So what do I got to do to my money then? I need to make sure, and you got to say it that way. I'm dividing that by 12. So in my calculator, I have to do 240 divided by 12. I can't do 12 divided by 240. It's going to mess it up. Okay, and I guarantee one of these answers in here probably is 12 divided by 240. The wrong one. Okay, if you do that, you will learn that it is going to be 20 cents. Whoa, what the heck was that? Okay, 20 cents like that. Okay, you must have that work, guys. If you don't have it on the summative, it will be wrong. So if you just circling answers, you better be counting it wrong now, because you may as well prepare yourself, because I will count it wrong. Okay? All right, number 3. By the way, we'll do the clickers at the end, in case you're wondering. Okay, number 3 was a little bit different of a question, but it kind of goes along with those 3 methods we learned how to figure out if they're equivalent or not, remember? So when I look here, the first thing I did when I did this problem is I went into my calculator and I said, I'm going to do 15 ABC 36. Right? And when I do that, I'm going to get 5 to 12. Is that what you guys all got as well? And then what I did is I just went through and said, okay, Letter C. Anything jump out at you that would eliminate letter C? What?
15 12.
Well, but what would make it be?
It's an improper fraction.
Well, it's not a fraction, but there's a bigger number on top. You can't have something equivalent. Like I can't say, oh, here the ratio is 15 girls to 36 boys, and then all of a sudden say, oh, then you can all of a sudden have more girls than boys. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay? Same. So both C and D are both gone because they are both improper fractions, even though we're not talking about fractions. Okay? So now we're down to these two. So all you got to do is just see if they simplify to 5 to 12. Now I know that they both have that one, so it's all about these two. Okay? So I'm going to look here and I'm going to say, okay, 45, ABC 72. What is that going to give me? 9, was that 5 to 8, I think? So that's simplified to 5 to 8. Is that the same as that? So doesn't that eliminate letter A? Remember what I always tell you guys, on multiple choice, find the 3 wrong answers. And then you'll find the right answer. Find the 3 wrongs. Now, 30 ABC 72, that does give me 5 to 12. So then I learned that letter B is the only one that has two ratios that are equivalent to 15 to 36. Could I also have just divided all these and done 15 divided by 36 and I get,
0.4.
what is it?
0.4.
Okay, so when you do that you get 0.4 or 0.4?
0.4.
Okay, okay, 4 tenths.
0.4, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then I could just go through here and do that to all these, right? And then this one would be 0.4, this one would be 0.4, right? You could do cross products, but that seems like a lot of work. I would just either turn them to decimals or simplify the ratio. There's going to be one obviously just like that on the summative, so prepare. It's going to be the same way. Riley. Okay, number 4. Again, which one is not equivalent? What I did is I just looked at it and said, well, I can do it 2 ways. I need to simplify this, which is it already in simplest form?
Yeah.
So I just need to figure out which one of these, or which 3 do simplify to 4 to 7. So I go 8, ABC 14. My calculator says it's 4 to 7. That's gone. Okay, 7 to 11. I know that's already in simplest form. So right away, I'm pretty sure that this one is the not one, right? The not equivalent. But you always want to make sure, remember, find the 3 wrongs. So 24 ABC 42, that's going to give me 4 to 7. 40 ABC 70 is going to give me 4 to 7. So I eliminated C and D, and then got letter B. Could I have also turned all those to decimals and divided them?
Yes.
Every one of them I could have, because all fractions are division problems, which means that all ratios are division problems. Remember, ratios are comparison of 2 numbers by division. Okay, number 5. Here we go, number 5. This is a reading question. This might be more of a reading question than a math question, right? This is all about how you're reading it. Now, I hope that you guys have learned. I'm pretty sure a lot of you got this right if I remember correctly. But this is an opportunity to just do edge pieces, just to make sure your thoughts are all you got the right amount of balloons and the right amount of stars. Does anybody do edge pieces? All right, good job. So I know that this is going to be. There are 4 stars. There are 3 balloons. Okay, I know that, and you could say there are 7 total. I guess 7 total stars and balloons. You could say that. It's not really necessary here, but you could. Okay? That just allows me to just kind of visualize it. The other thing I think people were doing is they were just going ahead and modeling it like this. Did anybody do that in here? Anybody? Nobody did? Okay. So either way, this just allows me to really visualize it. And then you really got to read. Well, Anna, she says that the ratio of stars to balloons is 4 to 3. Whereas, balloons would go. So you can see I kind of color coded them so that I can see what I'm talking about. The balloons is going to go with 3. The stars are going to go with 4. Right? So obviously, looking at my edge pieces, I know that Anna's already correct. Right? Billy is saying it backwards. Right? Billy says that the ratio of stars to balloons is 3 to 4. So he's saying there are 3 stars and 4 balloons. So that's why that would be wrong. Now I just want to warn you all right now. This same exact question is on the summative. except. I'm not saying whether it's Anna or Billy. I'm not going to say that because it could still be Anna. But I'm just going to tell you, every year we've had this question on the formative and then the other question on the summative. And everybody, they see this and they say, oh, it's the same question. They automatically put Anna or they automatically put Billy and say, well, it's probably the opposite. You can't think like that. Read it carefully. The summative question, it has a little tricky wordage. It ends up, I think it flips balloons and stars, so just be careful with that. Okay? So just make sure you're reading it real carefully. Now, the answer was A. Obviously, it was Anna. But you had to explain why. Well, there's a lot of different explanations you could come up with here. You could say, well, I know that there are 4 stars and 3 balloons, and Anna is the only one that's saying that there was 4 stars to 3 balloons. But really, the only explanation I'm really looking for, it doesn't even need to be a sentence, it is this.
That's what I wrote. Oh my gosh, I feel so smart.
Order matters. That's really, everybody write that. That's the reason. Because everything with ratios is about order. If it gives you stars to balloons, then you always put the number of stars first, the number of balloons second. You can't just flip-flop them. That's the whole point. Everything in ratios is about order. Okay? All right, let's go to number 6. Number 6. So, the ratio of boys to girls in Miss Brown's classroom is 4 to 5. So it's saying 4 boys to 5 girls. Again, you could do edge pieces. Not really necessary here, but you could. But do those boys right there in any way make up those 5 girls?
No.
No, they're 2 separate things. So this has obviously got to be a part-to-part ratio. Now, if it said 4 boys, Eva, if it said 4 boys to 9 total students, that would be a part to whole. But they're 2 separate things. The one number doesn't make up the other number. Let's go to number 7. Yes?
Okay, listen. Alright. So for number 7, I didn't write it on this test, but I wrote it on the other test.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So this one, it says 25 Skittles out of, that's always a good indicator, right? That's going to be a part to whole. And you can use out of, it does help. I mean, that will be a part to whole. But, and by the way, if I'm writing anything, like I said, this is a study guide. Probably a good idea to write it yourself as well. Okay? If I have 25 Skittles out of that 65, doesn't that mean that I have 40 of some other candy? Right?
Yeah.
So the 25 actually makes up the 65 total. Okay? So let's go down here. All right, now, write the unit rate in 2 different ways. Okay. How many eggs per dollar? Now, this one, number 8 was on this page, and then number 9 was on the back. But I phrased it to where the question itself, did it make you do one of the 2 unit rates? It picked it for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is what I'm looking at. You had to have a proportion for number 8, first of all. Okay? Now, if I know that 1 always goes there, and it says per dollar, what does that mean my label is going to be on the bottom? It's going to be dollars. So that means dollars on the bottom, eggs on the top. Then I put my fake ratio right on this ratio here, and I know it's going to be 6 eggs for $3. What am I doing to my number of dollars?
Divided by 3.
So what do I got to do to the number of eggs?
Divide by 3.
So I know that I'm going to be able to get 2 eggs for $1. Right? 2 eggs for $1. Hang on. You had to have that. $1. So, in order to get this question number 8 right, you had to have that, and you know you had to have it per dollar. If you had per egg, it's wrong. Now let's go to number 9.
Goes per 80.
Or real quick, go back. This page is out of 8. So go ahead and put what you got out of 8. Or just put how many you missed at the bottom, either way. What? No, it just has to be, if you put it up here, that's fine. Just as long as you understand the difference. Okay? So now, I got to do another proportion for number 9. But now it says it wants to know the price per egg. So that means 1 goes here. What's going to be the label on the bottom? What? Okay, so since it says per egg, I know that eggs have to be on the bottom. Money's going to have to be on the top. Now, my fake ratio, which I didn't like how I put this on the next page. I did not mean to do that. I'm sorry. But my fake ratio is on this page here. and I know that it's 6 eggs for $3. So to go back here, I know that I got to make sure eggs goes with eggs. So that's going to be 6. That's going to be $3, right? What am I doing to my number of eggs?
Dividing by 6.
Divided by 6. What am I doing to my amount of money?
Divide by 6.
Now a lot of people, not a lot, but some people were getting 2 here. That is 6 divided by 3. Remember, division is not commutative. You cannot just flip the order and that's that. If it says I have, whatever I'm doing here, I'm doing it to that. So that means I need to do this to that, which means that is the whole, or the dividend. Okay, when you do 3 divided by 6, you get 0.5. But since that's money, am I allowed to write just 0.5?
No.
If you had 0.5, it is wrong. Okay? When it's talking about money, money has to go to 2 places. So how much money is that?
50 cents.
That's 50 cents. So, now the other part to this, okay, you had to select which one you felt made more sense. Okay? What do you guys think?
The first.
Here's the deal, guys. They both make sense equally. Now, this one makes perfect sense here because is it a good idea to figure out the unit price? The unit price is always going to make sense. That's the cost per one of the object, whatever you're buying. Okay, so on number 2 up there on the first page, that was pencils. That one's always going to make sense. So this one absolutely made sense. No questions asked. Okay? But the other one also makes sense because look, it didn't give me a partial egg. Right? If this was 2.3 eggs, would that one make sense?
No.
No. But because it gave me an actual amount of eggs, if I went to the egg store and I threw $1 on the table, could they hand me 2 eggs? Sure. It actually works this time. Well, it actually works this time. So both of them make sense. So I'm not even going to count. If you said one or the other, I'll accept it. But just understand, unit price, guys, which is the cost per one of the object you're buying, that's always going to make sense. Always, 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 always. Just like the Kyrie's question we did, remember? Did we do Kyrie's in here?
No.
Oh, that was my other classes. Okay, regardless, that we talked about how you can't have a partial of the object. Like if I told you I could buy 5 pairs of shoes for $752, I could figure out how much it's going to cost for 1 pair of those shoes, and that would make sense, right? But could I figure out how much of that shoe I could get for $1? No, that wouldn't make sense. In this case, it made sense only because it was a whole number of eggs. All right, let's go on. Hold your question till the end. I'll answer them at the end. Okay. Okay, so that's that. All right, number 10. Now, I said you must show 2 methods. I will go through all 4 methods for you. Now, I will tell you that the answer is absolutely yes. But if you didn't show what I'm about to show you, then it's wrong. I'm going to show you all 4 methods. Method number 1. What can I do? Cross products, right? So, I'll kind of try to just kind of go like this. And then go like this. That's when we do cross products. So I'll write that cross product. Okay, you may want to write these if you're not familiar with them. That's when you multiply diagonally. So 10 times 24 is 240. 30 times 8, that's 240. Because those are the same, I know right away that this is yes. So there's check number 1. Let's go to method number 2 that you can always do. What's method number 2, Eva? You can divide them because all ratios are division problems. Top number divided by bottom number. So when I do that, I'll write it out here so we can make sure we see it. 8 divided by 10, that gives me 0.4 or 4/10. When I do 24 divided by 30, that also gives me 4/10. So did I just prove it even further that those are absolutely equal? I'm sorry, 8/10. That's what I meant. Sorry.
I was so confused.
Guys, I'm making sure you're paying attention more than anything. That's my
No.
responsibility.
No.
All right, so Sorry about that. So yeah, it is. My bad. It is 0.8. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. 8/10 and 8/10. Okay, so we divided. I know right away that if they have the same value when they're divided, then I know that that's another check. So there's 2. There's, what's the third check that you can do? Of the big 3. I call them the big 3. That's 2 of the big 3, and then there's a little fourth, I guess. Abby? You can simplify them. So, here we go. And I hope you're writing this because, again, this is your study guide. Okay? So, we're going to simplify them. So, you could go off to the side and say, okay, what factor does 8 and 10 share? But since you know how to use your calculator, and this is more about checking your knowledge of equivalent ratios more so than simplifying ratios, because we are already past that, I'm just going to have you do 8 ABC 10, and I know that you're going to get 4 to 5, right? And I'll put SF here to show simplified fraction or simplified ratio. Okay, over here, 24 ABC 30 is going to give me 4 to 5. Okay, so I'm looking at it going, they have the same simplified ratio, and there's check number 3. Those are the only 3 methods that will work always. Right, everybody? They will always work. Cross products, simplifying that ratio using your calculator, and dividing it using your calculator. Okay? What's that little fourth method, though? That doesn't always work, but it can. Lucas? Yeah, exactly. It's one of these deals that where you can just look at it, and if you can just tell, like right here, I know that 8 times 3 is 24, and I know that times 3 is 30. If you're multiplying or dividing by the same number, then I know that it's going to be an equivalent ratio, right? Okay. So those are your 3 methods. Nobody should miss them because it's right here on the video, and you can just practice, 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 practice. Okay, number 2. This is absolutely no. Let's go through the methods. First of all, what should you do with these first and foremost before you even started doing this answer? Raga? Put them into fraction form because I don't even like looking at them like that. I can't imagine you guys doing it. Let's do our 3 methods anyway. When I simplify these 2, what do you notice?
They're in simplest form.
They already are in simplest form. SF, SF. Simplest form, simplest form. So I know right away that this has got to be a no. So there's step number 1. Check. Now we'll do 2. And by the way, you know you had to do 2 of these, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do cross products. So we're going to multiply diagonally. Okay. What is 5 times 5? 25. What is
24.
So right there, check number 2, that it's no. They don't have the same value when you cross multiply them. And finally, we can divide them. We already did this one up here because we knew that this one was 4 to 5, so we already dealt with that one. So I know it's going to be 8/10. This one is going to be, I don't even know, 0.83 repeating, right? Something like that. Okay? And you can see that no, they are not the same. What are they trying to trick you here? What am I trying to, well, whoever, the test creator, me. What are we trying to get you to think, possibly? Yep.
When you graph 3, it goes to 8.
That, but what about this?
+1, +1.
Can you ever do that when you're making equivalent ratios? You can never add or subtract. It's always multiplying. Okay? All right, let's go on. This one here is going to be yes. Let's go through our 3 methods. Okay, first of all, let's simplify, or let's divide these. 8 divided by 12 is going to give me 0.6 repeating. 6 divided by 9 is going to give me 0.6 repeating. So right away, check number 1, good to go. Number 2, I'm going to simplify. When I simplify that, it gives me 2 to 3. When I simplify that, it gives me 2 to 3. There's check number 2. Okay, check number 3, remember, is the cross products. 12 times 6 is going to give me what? 72 and 72. There's check number 3. Now this is an example of where we have equivalent ratios and fractions, but ratios. But is there any whole number we can divide to go from 8 to 6?
No.
A decimal, but not a whole number, right? So do you see how the little fourth method doesn't always help us? Right? So no, they wouldn't help us. So these are the three you've got to focus on: simplify, cross products, and division. All right, let's go up here. What's the first thing you should do on this one here?
Fraction form.
Got to put them into fraction form. If you didn't do it, write it on your paper with me right now. I want you to be doing this. It's going to help you. I'm just trying to protect you guys from you. That's all. Okay? What am I doing to go from 13 to 26?
Multiplied by 2.
I'm multiplying by 2. So what do I need to do to 10?
Times 2.
So that's going to be 20 is my missing number. There you go. So if you didn't have this work, it's not wrong, but I'm just trying to tell you guys that it's going to help you. It's easier to see it when it's in that form. Okay, here, okay, I got the ratio 64 to 40. That's from that right there. And then I have 8, and then I have a blank. What am I doing to go from 64 to 8?
Divided by 8.
Dividing by 8. So remember, order matters when you're doing division. If it says divide 8, you can't do 8 divided by 40. It's this divided by 8, which is going to give me 5. Again, if you didn't have it in fraction form, please write it now so that you can have it for the test. All right. Number 15. A tricky question here. This is probably the most missed question on the test. Now, you guys all missed it because I had it in the clicker wrong. Okay, so I told you guys, it's okay, it doesn't matter, but there are actually 3 answers, and I only allowed you to type in 2. Sorry, it was my bad. Okay, regardless, I know that the correct answers are A, B, and D. Now, here's the deal though, we have to prove these. You just can't go through and circle them. So like here, when I saw every second, what does that mean? Doesn't that mean per 1 second? So if you didn't have the work that I'm about to show you, it's wrong. But you need to be writing this along with me. So I know 1's going to go here. And then I go ahead and put my fake ratio, which is right here. And I know it's going to be seconds on the bottom, meters on the top. I put my fake information there, which I know that Mr. Gellenbeck's traveling 30 meters in 15 seconds. What am I doing to go from 15 to 1?
Divide by 15.
So what do I got to do to 30?
Divide by 15.
So isn't that going to be 2 meters per second?
Yeah.
So I just proved.
It's wrong if we didn't do that work.
Well, you had to do something. I mean,
Oh, well, I did work, but I thought you said that would be it.
you had to have a proportion. Yep, you had to have proportion, so it's wrong. 15's wrong if you didn't do proportions, guys. There's going to be one just like this on the summative. So you may as well write this down so you know. You better be writing it so you know what I expect. Letter B. Okay, now this one, if I know that Mr. Gellenbeck, now that I know the unit rate, this is pretty easy. Look at this. I know that the unit rate is 2 meters every 1 second. So now I'm looking at it going, well, how far would he travel in 10 seconds? Well, times 10 times 10. Would that be 20 meters? Huh?
Yes.
Yes, so I just proved that one. Okay, so I just proved that one. And there's a million different ways to prove it. You could go over here and say, okay, that means 20 meters in 10 seconds. Okay, I'm going to simplify that. And I'm going to get 2 to 1. Then I'm going to go up here to this one, and I'm going to say, okay, 30 to 15. I'm going to simplify that one, okay, to 2 to 1. That tells me they're equivalent. You guys see how I do that?
Yeah.
There's a million ways to do it. You could divide it. Okay, that's 2. That's 2. Okay? Here's this one now. Okay, now look. Letter C. If it's per second, then I'm just going to go ahead and figure it out what it is per second. We already did that up here, didn't we? Let me just bring it back. If A was right, is there any possibility that C's right? No, C is eliminated because we already figured out that it's 2 meters per second, not 2/10 of a meter per second. Now, letter D, we're doing the other unit rate. We want to know how far how long it takes him to travel 1 meter. You had to have this work. And I know meters on the bottom, seconds on the top. I know that it's going to be, what's my fake ratio is 15 seconds, right? For 30 meters. What am I doing to go from 30 to 1? Hello?
Divided by 30.
So I got to do that here. I'm going to end up getting 0.5 seconds. Can I have a partial second?
Yeah.
Sure. That's why D is right. Now, here, go down to E. If you just figured out that he travels 1 meter and a half a second, how could he travel 1 meter in 2 seconds? That doesn't make any sense, does it? So then E would be eliminated. Did that help, guys?
Yeah.
So you just got to go through and just prove them all. Okay, you have to prove every one of them on the summative. If you don't, like C, you didn't have to prove it. All you had to do is draw an arrow and say, well, I know that he traveled 2 meters in a second, so he couldn't all of a sudden travel 0.2 or whatever it was. Okay, Let's go on. These two, I had a lot of people missing these. And it is very, very frustrating, number 16 and 17. I saw people doing this. And this is so frustrating for me. Please watch. They're saying, okay, I know they're both even. So then 21 to 28. Oh, one's odd. Simplest form. What would be my problem with that answer right there, besides the fact it's wrong? Why do I have a problem with anybody missing these two questions? Yes?
You can do it in your calculator.
You have a calculator. You guys got mad when you couldn't use one in 5th grade. And you got mad when you couldn't use one in chapter 3. Now I'm telling you to, and yet some people just don't. Just do it real quick. Even if you want to do the work because it's something you like doing, you feel comfortable doing it, all I'm asking is when you get done, just check it, please. Because there's no reason to miss that on the summative. You guys can all do that. What factor does 21 and 28 share that makes this go further? 7. So we know this is a 3 to 4 ratio. 3 to 4. But if everybody in here would have just done 42, ABC 56, they would have gotten that in it immediately. It really is kind of a ridiculous question because I'm basically just testing your ability to type in a calculator, which seems really silly.
Did most of the people do this?
Yes. It's fine. Okay, number 17. Now this one. Probably, besides number 15, 17 was the most missed question on the test.
Really?
And here is why. People were doing 15 ABC 10. They were getting 1 1/2. If you had 1 1/2, that is absolutely wrong. Everybody had it. Stop. There's no questions. If you had 1 1/2, it's wrong. If you wrote 1 1/2, it is wrong. Can you ever have mixed numbers when we're talking about ratios?
No.
Never, ever, ever, ever. Mixed numbers are not a comparison of two numbers by division. It's a fraction and a whole number. We did mixed numbers, girls. We did mixed numbers in chapter 3, which I know is confusing you. Okay, so here's the deal. If you type in 15 ABC 10 into your calculator, it does give you this. I understand that. But it is up to you then to go ahead and convert it back. Remember how to do that? You do the second ABC button. But even on that one, I think you guys are all very capable of going around the barn. You guys did it all in chapter 3. Everybody in this room knows how to do it. Okay? So, 15 to 10, both have a factor of 5. That's going to be a 3 to 2 ratio. 3 to 2.
Most of the people get it wrong.
I had so many people put 1 1/2. It is absolutely wrong if you did that. How many questions? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right?
No, 8.
9.
It's 9. Okay, put what you got on 9, please. Next page, last page. Okay. All right, number 19. Guys, all I'm looking for on this, it's real basic. Some people, I think, felt like it made it harder than it had to be. If it says the ratio of the number of pizzas to the number of children is 3 to 5, what does that mean? That means that there are 3 pizzas for 5 children. That's it, right? Or some people were saying, okay, that means that there's going to be 3 pizzas there and then 5 children to share those 3 pizzas. Okay, that's fine. It's kind of all I'm making sure. Again, it comes back to one thing, guys. Everybody write this. This is all this has to do with. That is everything to do with chapter 4. Order matters. Write it. Understand it. Guys, all it is just asking the number of pizzas. So I look here and say, okay, there are 3 pizzas because pizzas is listed first and 3 is listed first. And then children would be the second number. That's it. Or you could say there are 5 children for 3 pizzas. Same thing. All right, number 20. You had to show this in 3 different ways. You could have left your labels on them. You didn't have to. So you could have written it in fraction form. That's one way. Fraction form. Write this if you didn't have it. You could obviously always do it with a colon. And then remember the third way is with the word 2 in between. So you had to have all 3 of those. Which out of those 3, which one is the one we use the most? That one, right? But those are the 3 ways. Colon, fraction, the word 2. Or out of. But this one wouldn't be an out of question, right? Yes?
I wrote
If you left labels on it, that's fine. If you put Kit Kats and Snickers, Kit Kats and Snickers, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just as long as you had the fraction bar, the colon, and the word to. Okay, this one, model the rate as a unit rate per dollar. Well, in order to do this, you had to have a proportion, first of all. You had to find the unit rate. So because it says per dollar, I know that this one here has got to have dollars on the bottom, right? And Coke on the top. I know my fake ratio is 12 cans for $4. What am I doing to my number of dollars?
Divided by 4.
I'm dividing them by 4, so what do I got to do to number of cans?
Divided by 4.
That's going to be 3. So now when we model this, all we do, it's real basic. You could have done this a couple different ways. 1, 2, 3 with a $1 bill. That's fine. Or you could have done, some people did like cans,
I did that. That's what I did.
and then they did like a rectangle for a $1 bill. That's fine. I don't care. However you did it, but here's the deal. You had to have the proportion because anytime I ever ask you unit rate, ever, if I ever say find the unit rate of, you always show a proportion. There's no questions about that. And then the model's kind of basic, kind of elementary a little bit, right? All right. Now, unit rate definition. Now, I'll take your questions in a minute. But this is the definition. A ratio. You might want to write this so you have the exact one. I'm going to accept some different things, but this is the exact definition. A ratio where the second term, which means the bottom number or the second number in the ratio, is 1. Okay? A ratio where the second term is 1. That's that. That's that. Okay, now, if you said it's when I'm figuring out the amount per one of something, that's fine. I'll accept that. But if anybody put this is wrong. I will not accept this. The cost per one. Did anybody put that? If you said anything about just cost, it is wrong. Because that is something else we're going to learn about next chapter. That is called unit price. Okay, now it's the same thing, but we give it a special name. Unit price is the cost of something per one of the objects. So the dozen pencils that were $2.40 earlier on number 2, the unit cost, or the unit price, I'm sorry, is the amount per pencil. But I'm telling you guys, it's obviously going to be on the summative, right? Mm-hmm. It always is with these definitions. I give you the answer. All you got to go home and is practice. It is a ratio where the second term is 1, or you're trying to figure out something per one of something else. That is a good definition as well. Either way. Let's go up here to ratio. It is, oh boy, you may want to write this if you don't have it, comparison of two numbers.
That's exactly
Wait, hold up. Then you need to add this to it. By division.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's at.
That is exactly how it is in your notes. Everybody write it if you don't have it. I will accept a comparison of two numbers, but on the summative, I want to see a comparison of numbers by division. Because we know that all ratios are division problems. Okay. Yeah, that's, well, compare, no, it's this, write this. A comparison of two numbers by division. I'll answer those at the end. Just wait. Okay, number 24. Now this might be the hardest one on the test. This is kind of a difficult question. You had to really use your reasoning skills. Now, this is really, when you get to this, we're really talking, this is where edge pieces really come out. Okay, so Mr. McGill, he likes to make this punch. In this punch, it has 5 cups of orange juice. It has 3 cups of apple juice, which means every time he does this recipe, how many total cups does he make?
8.
Everybody draw edge pieces on your paper, please, if you didn't already. Okay, this is where this is really going to come out and help you guys. Okay, this is what it is. Okay, we want to know how many total, we got to have a total. Okay, now, Mr. McGill wants to make 40 cups. So, remember, I call this my edge pieces, or I call it my fake info. Now, this particular ratio right here, this ratio 3 to 5, or 5 to 3, or 3 to 5, whatever it is, you know that that can become a whole. You can make it a part to whole, right? So, this 40 cups here, this is going to become a proportion. Because we've got to figure out, if I know that the ratio if I know he wants to make 40 cups, I'm going to put 40 cups there. I'm going to put 8 total there. Right? Now to figure out orange juice, I'm going to put orange juice on the top. And orange juice here. 5. What am I doing to my amount of, what am I trying to do with the total?
Times 5.
Times 5. So how many cups of orange juice is he going to need?
Times 5.
Times 5.
25.
So the idea here is, you did not have to show a proportion on this one. Even though I would want you to. But the idea is, he wants to make 5 times the amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. If it was 8, if that makes 8 total, and he wants to make times 5 of that, then I know he's going to need 25 cups of orange juice, and he's going to need 15 cups of apple juice. Okay? You had to have both those.
I did a
Guys, either you had them or you didn't.
I had a proportion on that.
Either you had 25 and 15 or you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Okay, number 25. Here we go. We're going to write this unit rate in 2 different ways. So, I always like to just draw a line here. Okay, what's one way that I can figure out that unit rate? Yes?
How many $1 per Skittle?
How many, okay, how many, $1?
Yeah.
How many dollars, right?
Yeah.
For 1 bag of Skittle, right? So that means bags are here, and then money's here. Now, if you don't have labels, it's wrong. This question's wrong. Okay? So, I know that my fake ratio is that it costs $22.50 for 15 bags of Skittles. What am I doing to my number of bags here?
Divide by 15.
Dividing by 15. So what do I got to do to $22.50?
Divide by 15.
Does order matter when I'm dividing here? Absolutely, because division problems, you just can't flip the order. So, who can tell me, what does that give me? How much, what is the unit price? The cost per bag of Skittles, Maddie? What is it? $1.50. Will I accept 1.5?
No.
No, you missed the question if you have 1.5. So we have $1.50 there. Okay? $1.50. Okay, well that's one of them. Okay, I know that one. Now, what's going to be my other one then? What's going to be the other one that I can find? Yep. What is it? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. $1 per bag of Skittles.
We just did that.
Oh, sorry. Bags of Skittles.
Per dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know how many bags of Skittles I can get for $1. So up here's going to be bags. Here's going to be bags. So this is going to be 15. Everything's got a flip-flop, right? So if I know, what am I doing to go from 22.50 to 1? So what do I got to do to 15? Same thing. Who can tell me what that gives me? It's going to be something less than 1.
0.6.
It's 0.6 repeating, so we'll go ahead and round to the hundreds. That's always a good place to go. So that means 67 hundredths of a bag of Skittles. Now, these are my 2 unit rates. You had to have both of those because they are both right. They're both absolutely correct. You can always find 2 ratios, or I'm sorry, 2 unit rates. We've got to now determine which one makes more sense. Ava?
I said B, which was like the first
This one. Yep.
Makes more sense because you can't get 0.67 back.
Absolutely perfect response. That is beautiful, Ava. You know that if I go into Walmart and I want to buy a bag of Skittles, I'm going to have to pay $1.50, right? I can do that. I can come up with $1.50. But if I walk into Walmart and I hand them $1, are they going to be able to give me that amount of Skittles?
No.
No, because they're not going to rip open a bag and give you 2/3 of it. 0.67 is 2/3. It's not going to happen, right? Okay. So obviously this one would make more sense. So you had to have both of these with labels, and if you don't have them, you better be writing them. And then you also had to circle it or do something. And you didn't say explain, or yeah, I did. It said explain. So you had to give me an explanation like what she said. And it's basically you can't buy a partial bag of Skittles. Can't do it. Okay? All right, number 26 then. This is writing it 3 ways. This is a reading question once again. We want to know green beans to peppers, so that means order matters, right? So I know green beans, there are 37 of them, and then there are 30 peppers. So you had to have in fraction form, with a colon, and then with the word to in between. Okay? How many questions on the back, guys? What is it?
8.
It is 8? So that means it's out of 17 plus 25, right? Does that seem right?
Out of 25,
12 and
8 plus 8 is 16, plus 9 is 25.
There's 26.